Has anyone here played Duolingo? You know, the language learning game intended to motivate you to complete lessons daily? The popular one with the green owl mascot. You know, with all the homicidal memes. Have you played it recently? I can understand the confusion from anyone who hasn't used it in years, or anyone only peripherally aware of it. It originally seemed like it had so much going for it, one of the best freemium models for an app, focused on education over engagement, and had a variety of strengths that it leveraged early on to gain an advantage over the competition. However, those strengths were corrupted and became predatory. Everything unique and special created early on that helped to catapult Duolingo into popularity has either been imprisoned behind paywalls, or worse, aggressively weaponized against the free user base, manifesting as a variety of benign systems that require a certain amount of familiarity with before even beginning to truly understand their sinister nature. Systems originally designed and marketed to encourage users to build familiarity with the language they wish to learn were slowly reduced into habit-forming and addictive gameplay loops. These gamified lessons started innocuously enough, but it soon became apparent that their sole purpose was to whittle away finite resource pools while not rewarding nearly enough to replace them. Once your daily resources were spent, the player was left with only two options. The first being to complete practice lessons to earn back hearts, which I'll explain in a bit, and the other being to give up that lesson and come back the next day when you have more of the daily resources allotted by Duolingo, which you likely won't want to do if you haven't scored enough XP to stay in a comfortable position on the leaderboard. The same leaderboard which was initially promised as a way to promote healthy competition, rewarding those who put in additional time learning over their peers. That same leaderboard ultimately becomes a FOMO death trap for these free-to-play power users after spending long enough advancing up the rungs from bronze to diamond. There are 10 distinct ranks, each more difficult to remain in than the last, with even fewer people promoted to the next rank each week. Every Sunday was legitimately stressful once you get to Diamond League, as one of the best strategies to remain in it, as a free player at least, was to use as many XP multipliers as you possibly could to put yourself far enough ahead of the people in or near the demotion zone, so they couldn't do the same to you and overtake you as soon as you finally stopped your Duolingo lessons for the day. I would usually get 3/4 or so of my XP in a given week on Sunday, and as a result, missing a Sunday was almost a guaranteed demotion. One of the most punishing things that could happen during your XP grind was running out of hearts when you had buffs active. I called them buffs, but they were essentially a score multiplier that lasted for 15 minutes each, while running out of hearts meant stopping your lesson progress to complete practice lessons. These practice lessons weren't curated to help you specifically tune areas that you knew you struggled in, only awarded half the XP of a typical exercise, and seldom multiplied with the buffs already active. Their only real relevance was that they were necessary to refill your hearts. The heart meter was likely conceived as a benign way to balance the free experience, while softly encouraging users who could to spend money. You got 5 free hearts a day, which acted as a sort of gauge that, upon making a mistake during a lesson, would remove a heart. When this gauge emptied, you were prevented from doing anything else other than practice lessons until you had more. The heart gauge is refilled through said practice lessons, watching advertisements, or spending gems, a premium currency, to refill them all at once. These gems, which allow free users to experience small samplings of features now locked behind paywalls, can be acquired for free, in vanishingly small quantities, or acquired through the cash shop at exorbitant prices, forcibly making the argument in a prospective customer's mind not about the non-existent value of these gems, but rather the comparably decent value of one of their premium tier subscriptions. That's right, one of their premium tier subscriptions. They weren't content locking just the free users out of features and critical tools. They had to further bilk their already paying customers by hiding features their money paid to develop behind yet another paywall. So there's Super Duolingo, and then there's Duolingo Max, a recent addition. Super's the one that's classically been there, and the one you've likely tried out if you've ever acquired a free trial for their premium subscription. That one is, at the time of recording at least, $12.99 USD per month, while the Max subscription is $29.99 USD a month. Their yearly prices are irrelevant, as those are considered deals, and as such would be a disingenuous representation of what someone should expect to spend. One would be inclined to believe that after having paid such a hefty price for a premium subscription that you would, at minimum, be able to access the app without advertisements, right? Well, unless you paid for the most expensive option, you'll still get harangued by ads for their Duolingo Max AI-powered learning tools, thus making the super tier just that much less desirable. Something that shouldn't even be possible considering the absolute atrocity that is the frequency and placement of ads plaguing the free experience. There's even evidence of plans to hide the unlimited hearts perk behind the Max tier, thus negating one of the only guaranteed benefits of Super, the ability to bypass the loathsome heart system. The anti-consumer nature of this could be argued as being a non-issue by encouraging the less proficient users to make use of the systems in place to practice more until they don't use as many hearts to make it through new lessons. Funnily enough, this isn't even possible anymore. Duolingo has removed the ability in the free version to practice unless you're completely out of hearts, at which point you're allowed a single practice lesson, which provides a single heart upon completion. It then proceeds to lock you back out of practicing until you've exhausted the singular heart you were allotted. Rinse and repeat, repurposing what could have been a useful tool in a learner's repertoire as a bludgeon to punish you for not paying money instead. There were numerous of these tools in place for all users at one point, but over time they were methodically stripped away to help justify their premium experiences. Things like community forums where users could ask for assistance or help provide specific clarification for specific questions and problems. Seriously, these community forums were even linked within the lesson after you answered a question, almost like Duolingo used to be designed by developers who actually wanted their users to learn. These have all been paywalled or stripped away entirely in favor of further fleecing fervid fans. As a free user, assuming you A, didn't care about the pay-to-win leaderboards forcing gamified systems into your learning, B, were fine with half or more of your time on the app translating to a literal deluge of advertisements, and C, were proficient enough already in the language you're trying to learn to bypass all of the paywalled tools and opportunities to practice that a new learner would require, one would think, surely there's something substantive that all the money poured into this app created to make it compelling to download, or else people would ask, why even use Duolingo anymore? Considering the points thus far, the question seems more pertinent now than ever. Why do so many people still use Duolingo? How has it captured such a large installed base? Entrepreneurial momentum? The sunk cost fallacy? Frog in boiling water analogy? Duolingo seemingly never reinvests the increasing revenue from the sheer barrage of ads or their various premium subscriptions back into bug fixes, stability improvements, or user experience, even for those with one of their premium tier subscriptions. The app still regularly crashes during exercises and tests, or consistently forgets you watched the ads you did for whatever paltry reward they deemed fit, like malicious amnesia. Their newest set of courses, music and math, are still so thoroughly busted and unusable that they have to replace existing quests to incentivize existing players to even interact with them. Who in their right mind at Duolingo, a language learning company, not only agreed to hear a pitch for this, but signed off for it to be implemented into the app? As if to further deepen the mystery of fund allocation at Duolingo, in early 2024, Duolingo off-boarded 10% of its independent contractors in favor of replacing their jobs with AI. Independent contractors being a debated term here, as Duolingo fired them in December of 2023, just prior to new U.S. Department of Labor regulations in 2024, in which the classifications for what constituted as employees were updated. What convenient timing. This further bolsters the claim that not only were they not reinvesting into the product via their employees, independent contractors, but further trimming the costs of maintaining and expanding the app by using AI. The same AI that's forcing an increasing proportion of their remaining employees' positions to shift from translating or lesson writing into editing, arbitrating, and processing the flawed work created by their flawed AI. In conclusion, Duolingo, which once stood apart from the crowd of premium language learning apps by supporting a free user model, has now transitioned to a pseudo trial-based freemium model. This forces users who actually want to learn a language to pay for their premium services, as their free option no longer offers a legitimate path to do so. So what was it about Duolingo that allowed it the market share it has? What does Duolingo offer that keeps it in its position within the market that it enjoys today? From my perspective, it was hope, or rather a facsimile of it. Hope that one day you, the broke college student, single parent, laid off worker, could learn a language well enough to function in a foreign country, should you ever have enough disposable income to visit one, or the unfortunate enough situation to require seeking refuge in one. Hope that you didn't need to spend large quantities of money or dedicate the majority of your remaining free time to do so. And at first, it wasn't a false hope. It was, at one point, entirely attainable through the free route, so long as you made an honest attempt to learn and consistently practiced. It's precisely because of that hope that makes it so disappointing to see it monetized to the degree it is. I find a beautiful metaphor for this in the game Plague Inc. A great strategy to ensure success was to be as transmissible as possible, with long incubation times before minor symptoms. This made it so people were less likely to catch on to what you were up to or worry about preparing defenses. Once you had a large portion of the world's population infected, you would dial up the symptoms and lethality to hit hard before your victims could develop a cure to combat you. Like a Trojan horse filled with disappointment, this was very likely Duolingo's plan all along. Lull your victims into believing it's safe to drop their guards and put weight on a service whose only motivation from the start was to transform them into paying customers.